All right, well, happy Saturday, Central Georgia. Meteorologist Ansley Parker here, and we're going to be taking a little bit more of an in-depth look at the weather for later tonight and into Sunday morning. So let me give you a little bit of a breakdown about how this is going to go. First and foremost, I've made a post in our 13 WMAZ Weather Network saying this is kind of going to be our comment section for if you have questions while I'm here on the 13 WMAZ Plus app. So feel free to go on Facebook, look up our 13 WMAZ Weather Network. You can join it, or if you're already a member, you should see my post in there and you can ask your questions on there. I'll be addressing those as we kind of head into the stream. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what the line is doing right now out over Mississippi, over Arkansas, and over Louisiana. I'm going to kind of show you some of the impacts that are present at the moment, and then we're going to talk more about what the expected forecast is for us here in Central Georgia. So we're going to start a little bit different because we're going to start by talking about current conditions across Central Georgia right now, because we're talking about this big severe weather threat. But this is the scene right now outside. This is in downtown Dublin. The St. Patrick's Day Parade is going on. So it's actually a really, really pleasant Saturday. And I really want to emphasize that because you may have heard us talking about this severe weather threat for the past few days. I don't want you to be afraid to head outside and enjoy your Saturday afternoon, because this is kind of going to be the picture all day long. It's mostly blue skies today. It's actually going to be a pretty pleasant afternoon and pretty warm as well. It's already 70 degrees. It's only 11 in the morning. It's 70 degrees in Dublin, and I want to show you the temperature map right now as well to show you that warm temperatures is going to help us kind of organize the severe weather chance for later tonight. So we're already in the upper 60s and low to maybe even mid 70s in a couple spots, and the temperatures today are going to be in the 80s. So that is kind of going to be helping us in terms of our severe weather potential, how warm we're going to get for later today. And not only that, but we are also continuing to have southerly flow. You can see the wind arrows here bringing in the southerly flow. It's increasing our moisture. I've already watched the dew points go up a good amount all morning long. So we're getting a lot of moisture coming into our way. We're heating up all day long today. And then what's going on that you can't see and that I can't really show you on maps is that in the upper levels of the atmosphere, all of the right kind of ingredients are lining up to where we're going to have the chance to have some severe weather for tonight. So today is kind of the setup, and I just wanted to show you that so that you have a little bit more of an understanding of what's going on in our atmosphere today and why that's going to lead us for severe weather potential for later. Now, with some of these southerly winds, it's actually getting a little bit gusty outside. So this is kind of unrelated to our severe weather potential, but something you might notice through the day today is the wind gusts are starting to pick up. We're already seeing at least 20-mile-per-hour gusts all across our area here, 28 miles per hour in Macon. So it's going to be a gusty day today. We're actually in a wind advisory until early tomorrow morning for most of our western counties today. This is just to say that the wind gusts today are going to get up to about 35 miles per hour aside from our severe weather potential for tonight. So just a couple of things of note for the day today, but now let's take a little bit of a look. Well, there's your today graphic. Nice day today, storms tonight, and the high is going to be in the 80s today. So like I said, everything's coming together to help us organize our severe weather chances for tonight. Severe weather is almost like if you think of baking a cake, you need all certain ingredients to bake a cake. You need all kind of ingredients for severe weather. So we got the warmth. Our earth is kind of heating up here at the surface. That's creating some of the severe weather potential. We also have a lot of moisture coming in. And then, like I said, what you can't see on a map, up in the upper atmosphere, all of the kind of right ingredients are lining up for our severe weather chance for tonight. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you what's going on out to the west. There's nothing happening here in Central Georgia besides a couple of clouds, but here is the big picture, and you can see where the line has already started to form. And not only that, but it's kind of spurred up some storms ahead of where the line has formed that's kind of impacting North Georgia. Look at all those lightning strikes right there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take you in closer to this line right here where you see all of these severe thunderstorm warnings and these 2 tornado warnings. That is the line that I'm talking about that's heading our direction. Again, it's not going to be until later tonight, early Sunday morning, but let's take a look at what it's doing out to our west right now. First, I'm actually going to pop on the Storm Prediction Center outlook so you can see who's sitting under what category and what kind of conditions they have at the moment. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here so we can talk about what we're seeing over the kind of Mississippi, Louisiana, and Arkansas border here. You can see that they're kind of teetering between a level 3. Let me actually flip off the radar just for a second so I can talk about what I'm saying. you can see that they're kind of teetering between a level 3 and a level 4 here, and then that's a level 2 right there, or a level 1 right there. 2, excuse me. They're teetering between a level 3, a level 2 just out here, and then a level 4 out this way. So they're kind of along the lines of a level 3, which is what we're sitting under here in central Georgia. And I'll note something. They have several severe thunderstorm warnings, which is something we're expecting to see. We'll likely have some severe thunderstorms for the early morning hours on Sunday, but they've also got 2 tornado warnings here, which is something that we're watching for our area as well. So this may give us kind of an idea of something that we could expect to see in our area. I'll say though, this line is actually strengthening as it heads further towards the east, whereas here in central Georgia, we're going to be doing the opposite. So this line is getting stronger as it pushes into Mississippi. It's going to be getting weaker as it pushes into our area. So I don't want you to be too alarmed by the fact that there are a couple tornado warnings and maybe it looks like it's gaining strength as it heads this way. That's expected. It's going to keep gaining strength until it gets to the worst part, which is going to be right here over the eastern part of Mississippi and the western part of Alabama. And then as it starts heading our direction, it's going to start weakening. So don't be too alarmed by that. But that is something we're going to look at here for just a minute. So let's flip back on the radar, and I'm actually going to go ahead and take off the boxes that you see there with the Storm Prediction Center outlook so that we can just get a little bit of a better picture of what's going on here at the border. So what's actually happening, and we can flip on our radar. I'm doing my best to find a radar that will give us a picture of Louisiana. So let's see, I think I do have one here. Yes. All right. Let's take off this so that it's not so distracting. Okay, so this is the radar that I'm able to kind of tap into. There's a couple of gaps in data, so where you're seeing some of this gray color here, don't get too hung up on that. That's just because we're tapping into a different radar that's not been running the whole time. We're going to have a little bit of a gap in the information, but you can see generally some pretty strong thunderstorms. So these have spurred up severe thunderstorm warnings across the area, and on occasion they have spurred up a couple of tornado warnings. So I've been watching this specific line all morning long to kind of see what it's doing and pay attention to it. And you can see the whole area where this line is already existing. This red box that you're seeing here is a tornado watch. So they're already in a tornado watch, which means the conditions are possible for a tornado to form. So it's not super crazy that we're seeing tornado warnings spur up. That is one of the things that we're watching as this line rolls into the area. We can take a look at, just so you can get an idea of what the tornado warnings actually are looking like. There is a look at this one here in kind of the Lake Province area. You can see kind of the signature of rotation right here. Maybe I'm able to get a better picture of it with the regular velocity here. Yeah, right there, right above Lake Province, that's where you're seeing the rotation. Let's see if we're getting any sort of picture of debris in the air as well. A little bit hard to tell because of the radar that I'm on right now. It does not look like super high resolution data, but it does look like when you kind of see some of these blue colors, that's usually an indication of debris in the air. The reason I'm not 100% sure is because you can see that kind of extends into this whole area. So I could be getting a little bit messy data, but there is a tornado warning that potentially does have some debris in that area right now. So they have a couple of tornado warnings, one also over Monroe. Let's see if we can get a picture of this one as well. Not seeing really a signature of debris on the correlation coefficient here. Again, messy data. We'll have much better data in our central Georgia area, so don't worry about that being a problem for us. It's just a little bit messy on this radar picture here, but let's go ahead and flip it over to the velocity. Let's see if we can get a picture of the rotation. Not quite so much. Let me see if I can do one more product. Yeah, so I'm not quite able to get a good reading on the rotation on this specific tornado warning, again, because of some of the gaps that I have in the data with this radar. You can see when we go big picture like this, the radar only extends right out to where you're seeing that gray edge here. So that's why it's a little bit messy. When you're on the end of a radar like this, it's kind of hard to get a really accurate reading. But yes, there are some tornado warnings along this line, several severe thunderstorm warnings, which means the winds are gusting somewhere up to around 60 miles per hour in this area as well. So just kind of taking a look at some of the general threats that we could be seeing. But like I said, this line is actually getting stronger as it pushes out towards the east, when it's heading our direction, hopefully it will be doing some weakening. So that's kind of a picture of what's going on here. Let's flip it back over to the reflectivity just so we can see what these shapes look like here. And you're seeing an area of purple as well in some of these, which is another threat we're watching. Sometimes when you get a really high reflectivity value like this, where you get purple colors, that's usually an indication that there can be some hail embedded in that area as well. So maybe also picking up on some hail, which is another potential threat that we're watching when the line rolls into our area. So my point in showing you all of this is to show you this is just kind of the things that we're paying attention to for our area as well. I don't want you to get too hung up on it. I don't want you to say, this is exactly what's going on in this area. That means we're going to have the same exact impacts. I'm just showing you things that are possible, things that we're paying attention to, and kind of the reason that we'll be watching this line while it makes its way into Mississippi. So that's kind of big picture there, what's going on at the moment, how it's already beginning to form. And let me see if I can flip back over to our greater radar that will show us everything going on here. And kind of give us a little clearer picture. But yes, there is the line. It's ahead of a cold front. So at the surface, a cold front is pushing all of those ingredients that I just talked about, all of the warm air that's created energy in the atmosphere, all of the moisture, and it's pushing up all these storms up into the air and then creating some pretty gusty storms, at least severe thunderstorms, and at times tornado warnings as well. So that's a picture of it right now, heading over into Mississippi, and it's going to continue tracking east until it's to our area late tonight, early Sunday morning. A couple of storms have spurred up ahead of this as well, which is what you're seeing in southern Tennessee here. And I will say something that has encouraged me this morning is, let me flip back on the outlook from the SPC. Earlier this morning when we were in the newscast, the Storm Prediction Center made another update to the boxes that you're seeing here, or the outlook that you're seeing here. This level 4 that we kind of saw extended westward into parts of Georgia, they went ahead and extended it partly into southern Tennessee this morning. I keep getting questions about, do you think that we're going to be extended into the level 4? Is that a possibility for us? And there is a possibility always that the Storm Prediction Center can kind of change things. That's the point. They want to kind of get ahead of these things and let us know with as much time as possible if the risk has changed. So I will say it's always on the table, but the good news is they've already made several changes to the level 4. They extended it into western Georgia last night, and then this morning they extended it into southern Tennessee. With both of those changes, they haven't been extended into central Georgia. So that left me encouraged when I saw that they made another update to the box this morning, and they still maintained a level 3 for us. I think that is good news. It just kind of grazes Upson County right here, that level 4, but it's not been pushed any further into our area. So hopefully that addresses kind of that question there, and maybe gives you a little bit of encouragement as we get closer to seeing this line in our area. So there's the big picture with all the risks on there as well. Remember, this is the crucial area. This is where the National Weather Service is saying a tornado outbreak is likely, not that situation for us here in central Georgia. We are continuing to watch this line decrease in intensity as it heads into our area. We're going to pay attention to it. We're watching for some of those risks, strong thunderstorms and potential tornadoes, but it is not going to be like it is out here in Alabama and like it's heading into that direction. Remember, I said it's strengthening as it makes its way towards this pink area, as it makes its way towards the orange and the yellow, weakening. So I just want to re-emphasize all of those things for you so that you have a really grand understanding of what's going on, especially when you see all of these crazy colors, especially when you're hearing that tornado warnings are being issued out towards our west. I just want you to have a grand understanding of what's going on here in our atmosphere and what's heading our direction. So let's take a look now at the future view, and we can talk a little bit more about specific timing for us in central Georgia. So like I said, it's heading out towards Mississippi and towards Alabama. You can see the future view has picked up on that, what we call initializing. So when a model picks up on what's happening in the atmosphere right now, that's what it's doing out towards the west. It's picked up on the fact that it spurred up some storms. So predicting that it will be kind of in the Alabama area by later this evening, 7, maybe 8 p.m., and then making its way across state lines close to around midnight. So we keep saying that the weather impact alert is for Saturday night into Sunday morning. This is really a Sunday morning situation for us in central Georgia. By around midnight, we could be seeing a couple storms. You may be hearing a couple rumbles of thunder from the line out towards the west. but it's going to be really kind of entering our northwestern counties here. We're talking Lamar, Monroe, Jasper, Putnam by the early morning hours Sunday around 1 to 2 in the morning. So this is a little misleading. This timestamp here in the latest model run has gotten a little bit later. I would say for our northwestern areas, we're talking as early as 1 to 2 a.m. I'm thinking it's more likely that this is going to run a little bit earlier than 3 in the morning. But what we've seen is it's going to be a slow mover. So it's going to be sticking with us for most of the morning here. We're at 5 a.m. on the timestamp, and it's just kind of now in the Macon, Warner Robins area. It'll take some time to get through here, and then kind of heading into our southeastern counties here, Dublin area, maybe 6, 7 in the morning, and not really in our very southeasternmost counties until maybe 8, 9 in the morning. So it's going to take some time for this whole thing to sweep across here and not really leaving until maybe 10 or 11 in the morning. So it's going to be a little bit of a slow mover. I know we've had a couple of lines come through in the past few months or so. The one that I keep saying most notably because it was the most recent was the one we had in February, and that thing whipped through here very quickly. It was done in about 4 or 5 hours. This one's going to take a little bit longer, so we got to be patient, and then it will finally make its way out of here by the late morning on Sunday morning. What I'm going to do now is, I know a lot of my questions are going to be about county specific, when it's going to be in your county, what you can expect in your county. So I'll show you that exact same model, but let's do it a little bit closer. Well, let's take a look at what counties kind of will be seeing timing at certain points. So like I said, I'm going to say kind of Jasper, Monroe, Upson, Lamar counties. I'd say as early as 1 in the morning is when you kind of need to start waking up and thinking this thing's going to be kind of knocking on the door here. So that's our northwestern counties. And then it slows down a little bit. We really weren't talking about impacts in the Macon area, maybe the Warner Robins area, until maybe 4, maybe 5 in the morning. Again, slowly, but you may hear some thunder. You may already have some rain because it's not as tight as previous lines we've seen. So there may be a couple thunderstorms ahead of it. You can see that here. There may even be a couple of thunderstorms ahead of this line down in our southeastern counties, but the main impacts are going to be along this line, but it's kind of going to be a long time thing. Maybe in our southeastern counties by 6, 7 a.m. So this model run, this model run showing some of the storms in the Dublin area by 6, 7 a.m. Our southeasternmost counties, Telfair, Wheeler, Montgomery by 8, 9 a.m. and then again, finally moving out by 10, 11 in the morning. And then the rest of Sunday is going to be nice, calm, and quiet. So hopefully, if there happen to be any trees down, if there's power outages, if there's things like that where you need emergency management to come to your area to help you out, the rest of Sunday should be clear to do that. So that is the good news. It's not going to be really an all-day event. It's really just in the early morning, and then hopefully emergency management should be able to get out and address any problem areas. I'm going to show you the same thing on a different model run, just so you can get the idea that the models are pretty much in agreement over what this thing is going to do. So the HER model, just to give you some context for forecasting for what I like to do, I tend to go with the graph model for timing. With the HER, I use a rule of thumb that usually this is running about an hour behind, which would be consistent with what you see right here, 2 a.m. and it's not really there yet. I would say more like 1 in the morning is what we're thinking here. So it's still kind of consistent with the timing if you just take into account my rule of thumb here. And then it just continues to slow down and take its time getting across our area and out of our neck of the woods by 11, maybe latest, we're talking noon. So that's kind of just to show you that there's a little bit of model consistency, which is something we look for when we're watching an intense weather system like this. I know I have a lot of questions about this tornado potential. It's one of the things that we're watching. It's one of the things that you see spurring up over in where this line has already started, over in Mississippi, over in Arkansas, and over in Louisiana. So let's take a look at our tornado potential here. I'm going to stop it over Alabama to show you where the worst of the tornado potential is. So here's your key right here. The darker colors, the purples, the reds, the pink, that's going to be your higher potential. This is going to be your lower potential, the greens, the yellows, and the blues. Take a look at what's going on over in Alabama. All of those reds right here over that area where we're expecting things to be worse. This makes sense. This is what we would expect. There's definitely tornadoes expected in this area, but it does hold together a little bit as it crosses state lines. So I paused it here. You can see we still have some of that red color. I think that is why the Storm Prediction Center has gone ahead and extended the level 4 risk into parts of western Georgia. When we see this thing cross state lines into western Georgia, really just before our central Georgia area here, I think it's still going to be maintaining a good bit of strength. So there's a higher risk for tornadoes kind of in that area where they have the level 4. And then the hope here is that it falls apart just a little bit as it enters central Georgia. So you see now, just one time step ago, I'll take it back just to show you. Just one time step ago, there was a lot of that red over in Alabama and just kind of crossing into the state lines. But now, as we cross over into central Georgia, we lose some of that coloring. We're talking more about maybe a slightly lower end. I'm going to say it's not a 0% chance. There is a chance that we're probably going to see some tornado warnings for tomorrow morning, but it is lowering as it enters our area. So what I want you to take away from that is that the decreasing strength of the line does happen as it heads into central Georgia, but it's not a 0 chance. I do think we'll probably see a tornado warning for tomorrow morning. I definitely think we'll have some severe thunderstorm warnings, so I want you to be prepared for that. But I'm hoping here that it's definitely not going to look quite as intense as it does as it makes its way right across the state lines here. And then as it sweeps into our eastern counties, the potential just keeps climbing lower. So you see, now we see more of that blue, we're seeing more green. It gets lower and lower as it heads further towards the east. So that's why there's kind of a step ladder of the Storm Prediction Center risk. We go from a 4 to a 3 to a 2 to a 1, but really we're going to say we're in a 2 for all of central Georgia here. So it's not a non-zero chance for anybody. Tornado potential exists for everybody in central Georgia for tomorrow morning, but the hope is that the line keeps kind of backing down as it heads across our area. And then we head into the later hours and this thing starts to move out of there. So that's kind of a look at tornado potential. I know I'm going to see a lot of questions about that in the weather network as well. Something that we haven't touched on a ton is our rainfall chances, and if you were watching the stream with me at 8 a.m. this morning, this map looked a whole lot different. So this product is a little finicky. It tends to really not have a great estimate of exactly what the rainfall totals are going to be in exactly which spots. What I want you to see here is that we do have the chance to have some pretty heavy rainfall. So I would say we have the chance to have in between 2 to 3 inches in all spots. It just depends on how long it takes these storms to get out of here. So if they sit over us for a long period of time, we're looking at some higher rainfall totals. If they move out of here at a good clip, things will be a little bit lower. But we're probably going to tack on the rainfall total somewhere between about 1.5 inches to maybe 3 inches in heavier spots. We're not in any sort of flooding risk at the moment, but I want you to know North Georgia is in a flooding risk because they're already seeing rain today. So we're going to have the chance to have some river flooding because water that goes up in North Georgia is going to come down to us for the next few days. And of course, this could also raise the river levels as well. So we're in kind of a river flooding risk, but we're not necessarily in a flooding risk in general for our area. So that's a look at some of those things. I will also go through this just one time before I address questions in the chat. What should you be doing? I know it's always a question when we have weather like this rolling in. It can kind of make you feel maybe a little helpless. Maybe you're feeling a little just nervous about this. The best way to combat fear and anxiety is to just get prepared. Knowledge is power, and if you can prepare yourself, then you will probably feel a little bit better. So what can you be doing today? Honestly, the first thing that I should have added to this list is enjoying your day. You should get outside, enjoy the sunshine, maybe go to Dublin for the St. Patrick's Day parades. Today's a beautiful day, and it's a great way to kind of get out of any of your anxieties and just enjoy the Saturday that we have here. So get outside and do that. While you're outside, just start thinking about what your safe spot is in your home. And I have a graphic included right after this that can show you what safe spots can be in your house if you've never thought about this before. And making a plan for if a tornado warning is issued for you. I said this morning, my parents always had a plan for us. They communicated it really well to us really well, to me and my brothers and my sister. And I always thought it was so silly. I was like, I don't know why my parents feel the need to have this whole plan for severe weather. And I thought it was dumb that we were wearing bike helmets in the basement. But now I know that's a really good, get your kids on the same page as you, and that can help them feel just a little more comfortable with it as well. So talking as a family, making a plan, knowing your safe spot for when warnings are issued. That's thing number 1. Number 2 is turning on weather alerts. We say this often, don't rely on the weather outside to wake you up. So you need to have alerts on your phone that are going to be able to wake you up because we're talking about an overnight event. The best thing to do is to have multiple avenues for receiving alerts. I have multiple apps. You can also use a weather radio, but something that's going to wake you up, and then being familiar with your location on a county or on a map. So knowing your county name, knowing where in your county you sit on a map so that if a warning is issued, you can say, oh yeah, that is my area. I can see that on the map here. So being familiar with that, and then if you want to do an extra action item just to kind of be prepared, something I did yesterday was just pull in my tiny little potted plants that I felt like the wind might knock over. You can secure some of the loose items out on your desks. It's always a good idea when any type of weather rolls through to charge your devices. There's a chance with kind of any gusty winds that you could lose power for a little bit of time. So being prepared for the chance that maybe if some branches get knocked over or if there are some gusty winds, you could lose power for a period of time. So going ahead and charging your devices. I'll show you the tornado safe spots graphic here just to kind of talk a little bit more about that. And then I will turn to our weather network and answer some of the questions that I see on the posts here. So when we're talking about tornado safe spots, the best thing you can do is put the most walls between you and the outside as possible. And I'm standing in front of this box here, but I'll kind of explain what it says. You want to avoid outside walls and windows. So you want to stay as interior to the home as you possibly can. That's why these areas are in red. They have exterior walls. Bathrooms are usually good. Most people tend to know this. You can sit in your bathtub. The things that they make, bathroom walls, bathroom tile, things like that, are usually a bit sturdier, so bathrooms are good. Interior rooms like interior hallways, even staircases and closets, those are all safe zones. The best possible spot you can be is also on the lowest level of the home. So if you have a basement, that's going to be the best place you can be as well. For extra precaution, that's what this middle bullet point says here. You can cover yourself with maybe a mattress or extra blankets. It's not a necessary precaution, but if that's something that makes you feel a little bit better, then you can do that as well. So that's kind of a look at things you can do in terms of tornado safe spots to help with your prep plan. And I'm going to turn now to the Weather Network to address some of the questions. While I do that, I'm going to go ahead and throw up the future view because I know some people may have joined me a little bit late. I will go through this county by county once again to show you the timing of this line and kind of what we're expecting in each spot, just in case some people did join me later. But I already saw a couple of questions in our National Weather not our National Weather Service chat, our Weather Network chat, and I'm going to turn to those now. So give me just 1 second to pull that up. All right. Okay, the first one that I'm seeing is from Marilyn Cup. She's asking if we are in a PDS situation. If you don't know what a PDS situation is, it's a particularly dangerous situation. We are not in a PDS situation. So to kind of address that, the answer to that is no. All right, I'm seeing questions about timing. I see a question from Lisa Ogan about timing in Crawford County. I'll go through this map one more time and we'll talk about timing. I also see questions about impacts for Bibb, Jones, Wilkinson, and winds in the west end of Washington County. So I'll talk about county by county impacts here in just a second. Timing rolling through the Dublin area, I'll address that when I talk about timing. And then I also see a question about, are the chances for tornadoes lower than expected tonight for Houston County? So that is by Nick Granger. And I will say, I would say the chances for tornadoes are still about the same as what we've been expecting. But what I wanted to show you by pulling up this graphic was to show you that there generally does still seem to be a weakening trend. So we watched there be a weakening trend for the past couple of days by the Storm Prediction Center not outlining us in a level 4 risk when they've continued to update the risk categories. So that is usually an encouraging sign to me. They're going to get ahead of something like this, and if they didn't think that it was going to kind of keep losing strength a little bit, they're going to go ahead and keep pushing this area further towards the east. So generally their thinking and the thinking of the models still supports the idea that this is going to be weakening as it heads further towards the east. The thing that I don't want you to do is to say, oh, it's going to be weakening as it heads further towards the east. It's not going to be as bad as it is in Alabama, so I'm not going to pay attention to it. It's still going to pack a punch as it heads through our area. Like I said, we're probably going to see some severe thunderstorm warnings. We'll probably see some tornado warnings issued, but I don't think it's going to be half as bad as it is over in Alabama. So I do want you to kind of keep in mind that there will be a weakening trend, but it's still something that we got to take seriously and pay attention to. So in terms of tornado potential and what we're thinking, it exists for everybody across central Georgia. It's going to be a little bit greater towards the west and for our western counties, but it still supports the idea that there's going to be weakening as it heads west. I also see a question about black lines for tornadoes. And what you can't see on the graphic here is that the Storm Prediction Center also does what they call a hatched risk. So when they emphasize a specific area for tornadoes, they issue a graphic and they put black marks on areas that are in the hatched risk. That just means that those areas are in a slightly greater chance to see some tornadoes. So this is not new information to us. Tornadoes is something we're watching all morning long, but when you see that hatched risk, that just is emphasizing these areas could see tornadoes, basically. Kind of summing that up, long story short, which is, it's kind of a complicated product, but that's basically what it means. And I'm seeing one more question besides timing, and then I'll jump into the timing one more time. Is there good chances to see lightning? I do see questions about watching lightning. I will say I would most prefer if you stay inside while this storm rolls across. Definitely don't be outside trying to take pictures or things like that. This is going to be a pretty impactful system, so stay inside. But while this system is out towards the distance, maybe you might be able to catch some lightning from a window. But once you start feeling those gusty winds, you hear the rain, definitely make sure that you're staying indoors. All right, so let's talk about timing one more time, because I see that's mostly the questions that I'm receiving here, and I'll refresh my page just to make sure I did not miss any, but that's mostly what I'm seeing. Okay, that's most of what I've seen right now. So let's go ahead and go back through the timing, just in case you're joining us late and you want a little bit of a better understanding of what to expect timing-wise for tonight into tomorrow morning. And that's kind of the last thing we'll address here. Like I said, the timing hasn't changed much for the past couple of days. It's really stayed pretty consistent, so we have a pretty confident idea that it'll be entering our northwestern counties at 1 a.m. in that kind of 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. period here. You can see that here, the first to kind of start seeing the rain, start seeing some of this line. It's going to be the Jasper, Monroe, Upson, Lamar area. They'll start having this line 1 to 2 a.m. and then it does look like it's going to kind of take its time. I know that looked fast, but the last couple of model runs have showed it being a little bit slower, so I tend to go with the trend as opposed to just one model run that shows it being a little faster. I think it's going to take some time, not really in the Macon, Warner Robins area until maybe 3 to 4 in the morning, so moving a little slower, then making its way towards the Lawrence County area 6, 7 in the morning, and then not in our southeastern counties, Telfair, Wheeler, Montgomery until kind of 8, 9 in the morning. I also saw a question about specific impacts. I will just defer to the Storm Prediction Center's graphic for us. I think this does a pretty good job explaining where things will be a little bit more intense in our western counties. Right when this line makes its way into our area, I think that's when we're going to see kind of the strongest punch. The winds will probably be the gustiest. That's where we'll probably have some tornado warnings in that area. And then the hope, again, which I've said so many times on this stream, I feel like a broken record, so sorry for repeating myself. The hope is that it will just kind of decrease in strength the further east it heads. So that's the idea here. And it makes sense when you see the outlook like this. We're at a 4, and then we're at a 3, and then we drop down to a 2. So that generally supports the same idea. But I do think it's going to be a bit of a punch as it rolls through, especially in our northwestern counties, and then hopefully ticking down in intensity as it comes across. What I don't want you to do, though, is get too hung up on the fact that this is a level 1. I will show you. The Storm Prediction Center is in between time frames, so what you're seeing there is kind of a false level 1. They maintain a level 2 as this thing pushes its way towards the Georgia coast. So it's just because of the time frame there. I want you to just imagine that everything beyond here is a level 2 the whole time. We don't necessarily jump back into a level 1. So paint this area here yellow and just kind of take that as a level 2 all the way down towards the Georgia coast. So that's kind of what the latest is. Not much has changed, which is usually good news. We're getting a pretty good idea of what we're looking at for tomorrow morning. Again, we'll probably have a couple severe thunderstorm warnings. There will probably be a tornado warning, so just be aware during the early morning hours. Sunday, we are going to be here all night long. We actually are already here for the rest of the afternoon today. We're going to keep up with the frequent live streams. David Guerrero will be coming in here in really just about an hour or so. He'll be taking over for the rest of the afternoon, and he'll be doing live streams Then Chief Meteorologist Ben Jones will be in later tonight. He'll be on for the 11 o'clock news and also be doing a stream at 9 p.m. Just giving you the latest. And then the three of us will be here all night long. Alex Pry is out of town, but the rest of us will be here for the entire night tonight. So this will be something that we're paying attention to. We will keep you updated with all the latest information that we have. And of course, this will just be something that you should be paying attention to overnight tonight. And other than that, it should just finally get out of here, and then we will have a much calmer work week ahead of us. So you just got to make it through the rest of tonight, and then we are looking at some better weather for Monday and heading into the rest of the week. But that's the latest that we've got right now. That's all I've got for you at the moment. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, I'm meteorologist Ansley Parker, and we'll be with you all evening long.